Welcome to the Travel Squad podcast, where adventure meets inspiration. We're your hosts. I'm Brittany.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Jamal. Together we explore international destinations, hike epic national parks, and share unforgettable travel experiences with you, one passport stamp at a time.
Our mission is to inspire you to travel by showing you how you can make it work no matter your budget, schedule, or experience level.
We bring you along so that you can laugh, get excited, and start planning your own trip.
So grab your ticket and your passport.
And don't forget your travel insurance.
And get ready to embark on a new adventure with us around the globe.
Hey Squaddies, Travel Squad Podcast is back with Just the Tip, our Friday mini episode series where we give you quick travel stories, hacks, and recommendations to set you off into the weekend right.
Today, we're giving you a quick checklist of 11 things to do before you head out onto your vacation.
Yeah, a lot of times right before a trip, we could be really stressed with packing, all sorts of miscellaneous things. So a lot of these things are very common, but things that people sometimes forget to do. So we're just going to give you the rundown of that quick little checklist here to make things go a little bit more smoothly for you.
Tip number 1 is to confirm your travel documents. You put your passport away after your last vacation. Make sure you pull that out and make sure that it's still valid. Usually, most countries want you to have it valid for at least 6 months before you return. So make sure that it's not going to expire anytime soon and that you don't need to get it updated because it can take a few months to do that in advance.
I've heard this from somebody that I know by an acquaintance. And of course, you could see this stuff online. There are travel horror stories of people not realizing that this is kind of a general rule, is that it needs to be valid at least 6 months before the expiration for you to actually land and be accepted into another country. So do check that. Confirm your travel docs. Also really important with your travel docs is print or download your boarding pass, tickets, or confirmations. I know it's kind of an old school thing to do because a lot of people have it on their phone these days. And if you want to go that route, by all means. But a lot of the big trips that we take, more particularly international, I do like to print that stuff out because what happens if I lose my phone, God forbid it gets stolen on me, your battery dies, and you don't know your hotel confirmation or what hotel you're actually staying at. I like to print those things out and keep it with me on my personal item. So that's something to do beforehand.
I'm glad you're saying this because I'm using this one. I'm about to go solo on an international trip and I'm going to double check all of my bookings to make sure, even just double check that nothing's been canceled since it was a couple of months since I booked and that everything I think I booked, I actually did, because sometimes I mix things up or book it for the wrong day or something. The other thing to keep in mind, 2025, the UK and Europe have implemented new rules about registering before you transfer through those regions. It's in the vein of a visa, not exactly the same thing, but those are things that you need to have in order before you go there.
That's a really good tip, Kim, because we've talked about that in a previous episode, kind of have forgotten about that till you reminded us right now. So always, again, just check everything before you go. General theme of tip number 1 here for you.
Tip number 2 is to purchase travel insurance. That could be medical insurance or trip cancellations or lost baggage or even a MedJet membership. But at the very least, we always buy travel medical insurance before an international trip. We would rather spend the cheap amount of money it costs for a policy to save us if we get injured while we're abroad. And if you do travel often, they often have annual policies that you can buy. So it may be worth purchasing an annual policy if you're doing a lot of trips in the upcoming year.
I never buy travel medical insurance anymore. I'm just rolling the dice with life.
You're wild, Kim. That is a wild thing to do. But you know what? Whatever floats anybody's boat, you can see here on the squad, we're giving this tip. One person on the squad doesn't really want to adhere to it, but Brittany and I like to, because I got the feeling the moment that we don't do it, something's going to happen. But I am in the insurance industry, so I truly, genuinely believe it's better to insure yourself. But nevertheless, do purchase some travel medical insurance for that international trip. Or roll the dice, as Kim says. She likes to gamble.
Just last year, one of our squaddies was hiking in Switzerland and there was a cow on the path and the cow got spooked and she fell because the cow was spooked and it got close to her and she broke her ankle. She couldn't make it down the mountain, so they had to get an emergency flight out of there. It was
my gosh,
$14,000 for that.
Oh my gosh.
To be transferred. And that doesn't include all of the medical bills she racked up while she was in that hospital.
Well, there you go. If I ever go hiking in Switzerland, I might think twice.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Love, exciting and new. Hello, Hannah Waddingham here. Have you seen the fabulous new Sun Princess? World-class entertainment, exceptional dining, and the greatest pizza ever. It's a love.
Don't miss our Come Aboard sale with up to 40% off and free room upgrades. Visit princess.com or call your travel advisor to book. Princess Cruises. Terms and restrictions apply. Offer ends 2/28/25. Ships of Bermudan and British Registry.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Third tip is to set up your phone plan. So check with your cell phone provider to see what kind of data and coverage they give you in another country. Maybe you don't have to purchase anything. If you do, there are SIM card, eSIM card options. You can buy extra data for your phone carrier ahead of time, or even arrange a pocket Wi-Fi for when you're going to be in destination before you get there.
Yeah, having that data on your phone is incredibly crucial. Whatever method you get it, you absolutely need to do that and make sure you are set up accordingly. Number 4 is going to be notify your banks and credit cards. Now, in fairness, a lot of travel credit cards these days, and even a lot of credit cards that aren't travel oriented, they have a lot of consumer protection in them where they say, yeah, you don't need to notify us when you travel anymore. So in fairness, I want to say that. However, there are still credit cards, especially if you don't have travel ones, that do require you to notify them that you're going to be traveling, of course, internationally. That way they don't deny your purchase and put it as fraud, and then you're stuck in another country having to figure it out with the bank. So it's always just good practice to go ahead and try to do that online, and then through your online login with your credit card, it will tell you, oh, you don't need to do this anymore, or it will give you the option to put in that international travel notification. But I find it to be more important specifically with your debit card, because debit cards, absolutely yes. So if you are the type of person who doesn't exchange physical cash and you actually draw from an ATM to get the local currency, definitely your ATM card, you need to notify your personal bank, say that you're going to be traveling, what dates. My bank specifically requires that I do that. Otherwise, if I try to put in my debit card, it would absolutely deny the withdrawal of cash. So again, just good caution, notify your banks and credit card companies.
Tip number 5 is to secure your home. When my dad and his girlfriend took a month-long trip, they actually arranged for their mail to be held so that it didn't get delivered and pile up at their home. But you can also use timers for lights and lock all of your windows and doors, and then just keep in touch with a neighbor to keep some eyes on your house as well.
My pet sitter also will water my plants, which is really important if you're going to be out of town in the summer for a week or more, especially in Texas. Your plants will be dead when you come home. Secure the plants.
Secure the plants. They're like children to us millennials these days. There's pets and plants. That's kind of really our thing. So you do want to secure those. Also, I will say this, some people who have Ring or some other type of home system that monitors your interior, of course, that is a great way to secure your home so you can keep access to it. But I even know, even when I'm at home, sometimes you can mute those notifications because you get so many. If people are walking by your door, of course, you can then go back and see what was previously recorded. But if you mute notifications while you're actually at home, be sure to unmute them when you are traveling. Yeah, it could be an annoyance, but you never know, and it's a better time to keep an eye on it. So just throwing that little tidbit out there for you guys too.
Before you go, share your itinerary with someone else that you trust so that someone knows where you are, someone that's not on this trip with you. Put emergency contact numbers in your phone so that, when we're in the US, we know call 911 if something goes wrong. But if you're in Italy, say, they don't use 911. So you want to know what those are just in case.
Absolutely. Or know where the closest embassy is to your country. So, of course, most of us listening to this podcast, we know are Americans. Where's the American embassy? What's the number? You can actually register with them when you are traveling. Not a lot of people know that. You can register with your country's embassy. That way they can give you notifications if something's going on in that country. And of course, that way they know you are actually there in case of emergencies too.
When we go to Egypt in January 2026, we should register just in case.
Why not, right? Might as well. Absolutely.
Check weather conditions. This is one sometimes I listen to myself on, sometimes I don't. Weather can be hard to interpret when you're used to like 60 degrees. You're like, what does 29 feel like? Just check it and try to be as prepared as possible with your items. But also know this, if you forget something like gloves or a beanie or a scarf or a jacket or proper shoes, you can typically buy that in your destination. Yeah, it might be a little bit more, but it's not the end of the world.
True, but in general, to pack, that way you know accordingly what you're going to wear, especially you girls, Kim, Brittany, I know you guys like to really more accessorize than the guys, especially depending on where the trip actually is, what we're particularly doing. So I think knowing the weather is crucial. And a lot of times too, people don't realize this, right, Kim? Now that you live in Texas, you do know this, but California is not used to summer rain or thunderstorms. In Texas, that's very common. Somebody may not know that. If you check the weather, you may know, and then you could have an umbrella. So yeah, those gloves, all those other little miscellaneous things you're saying you can buy. You don't really want to buy an umbrella while you're traveling. If you have one, might as well bring it, especially a little travel size one. We always bring that with us if we're going to some place that's rainy. So just check the weather. Helps pack.
And I always love to add the cities that we're traveling to the weather app so that like as I'm getting ready for a day or before packing, I can just scroll through. And then when I'm at the destination, I already have them downloaded to my phone.
I also do that. I like to see what the weather's like day to day leading up to it. I've been watching Iceland and it was getting real scary. It was like 17 degrees and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die.
You're not, because Jamal and I were once in 7-degree weather and we did not die. So you'll be fine.
We were struggling.
Trekking around in it?
Yeah,
Yes,
we were in a
hiking.
national park actually in 7-degree weather. It was quite cold. 17's bad. I know when you said you're used to 60, 65, you don't know what 29 feels like, Kim. 29 is freezing. So, you know, there's at least that. I think once you hit below freezing, it all kind of really feels the same until you get down into those single digits. Of course, we're talking Fahrenheit, not Celsius here for anybody who's listening and is a Celsius person. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, what I was going to say is that as I was looking at the weather, currently the high is 48 is what it was. I'm like, okay, 48, no problem. Sign me up. But I can't see it fully past the 10 days just yet because my trip's still a little bit too far out and it's creeping back down into the 20s. So we'll see, but I'm watching it. This is what I like to do leading up to a trip.
But I will say this, if you're seeing the temperature that high, Kim, right now and thinking it's not too bad, keep in mind, it's mostly going to be dark and very little sun. So that temperature with no sun will be cold. May not be super cold, but it's going to feel a lot different.
No, I know. I'm packing appropriately this time.
We'll see about that.
Pepcid Complete knows that food is one of the best parts of game day. That is, until heartburn strikes. Thankfully, just one chewable tablet of Pepcid Complete provides dual-action heartburn relief with an antacid that starts working instantly and an acid reducer that lasts all day. So you can stay focused on that second helping of chili without worrying about heartburn. All day based on 8-hour symptom relief studies during the day. Use product only as directed.
Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistant's assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today. I'm told it's super easy to do at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Next tip for you guys is to keep up to date with health requirements. So what we mean by this is confirm vaccines or medications needed in a specific destination. Of course, everybody's health is their own personal choice on what they want to do. Are they going to really take the immunizations that are suggested? But what we really mean by this is a lot of people don't realize some places immunizations are required. And no, I'm not talking about the COVID vax. When Brittany and I went to Uganda, you had to get a yellow fever vaccine. That vaccine was dependent upon you actually being granted entry into the country, receiving a visa. So if you were going to Uganda and didn't have that, they would have kicked you right away. So there are some countries that have certain requirements versus recommendations. So good to be sure on that. That way your trip doesn't go bust, so to speak. But then, of course, the recommended ones, personal choice on what you want to do. So it's always good to realize what's going on in the area, whether it be maybe malaria prone, etc. Should you have antibiotics? Because a lot of people get traveler sickness. So just keep up to date.
And make sure that when you're packing to keep all of your medications with you in your personal bag and don't put them in your checked luggage or even your carry-on, because sometimes your carry-on can get flagged to be checked instead if there's not like overhead space. So make sure you always have your medication in your personal bag while you're traveling.
You'll want to, of course, download your offline maps like Google Maps, TripIt, any things that you can make offline, go ahead and do it. For the maps, you have to go in and circle the map trajectory that you want to download, but do that for the destinations that you'll be in, and it'll be super helpful.
And we say this tip all the time, pretty much in the tips portion of every full-length episode that we have. But for people who don't know what offline maps is with Google, it's basically taking that area, like you said, Kim, circling it, and then you download it. That way you can utilize it without data. So if you happen to be someplace where you lose service, your pocket Wi-Fi dies, doesn't really matter. If you download it, it's basically using maps as if you have service. So it comes really in handy if you ever lose that data or anything like that.
Another tip is to clean your house before you go on your vacation. We always do a full house clean, but one time we actually hired a cleaner to come and they cleaned our entire home, and we arrived back home to a sparkling clean home. Wash your bed sheets, set out new towels, stock the house with a few non-perishable items so that you have some meals to make that are easy when you get home. That's the way to do it.
I mean, this is the OCD in us, right? We're talking about how leading up to a trip can be really, really stressful. And so you could say, well, when am I going to have time to clean my house? But I can assure you, if you are able to make it happen, even if it's not super bright and sparkly, but some sort of just straightened up, you're going to feel a lot better when you come home from that trip that the house is clean versus dirty. Because when you come home from a trip and it's dirty, yeah, you're excited to be home, but it just doesn't have that same feel of being home. Totally. I can tell you that.
Yeah, if you come home to dishes in the sink or laundry still strewn about your bed or wherever you left it, like, it is not a good feeling. Even with my pets, sometimes when I come home and they've like got their toys everywhere, their food's out because I leave it all on the counter for the sitter, I'm like, it's a mess.
So clean your house.
The last thing is beauty treatments. This won't apply to everyone, but some things that I like to do before my trip. I always self-tan. If I ever take a trip and I have not tanned, I regret it like crazy. Just having a nice tan is going to make your trip so much more of a vibe. I always get my nails done before a trip. I try to time getting my hair done somewhere around it, right? I don't want to be like on my last leg of my hair when I'm on an international trip, but I'm going to have these memories forever. But sometimes it doesn't always work out, right? I also this year have been doing a lot of eyebrow laminating and tinting, which is amazing because you don't have to spend the time fixing your eyebrows as part of your makeup routine. So you save time while you're on a trip. And then like if you go swimming, they're there. You're just beautiful naturally. I always try to eat healthier too before I go on a trip because I know regardless of where you're going, you're not going to be eating as healthy as you would if you're making everything at home. So I try to do like green juices, work out more often, and just prep for that time. I really always get screwed on the way back from a trip. So I would like to do an episode on how to assimilate back into your normal life, because I sometimes have a hard time getting back into the swing of things.
I can feel you on that. Like, you'll be on vacation, vibing, you come back, you have all this work piled up, you have a workout routine that you're supposed to follow, and it just kind of doesn't happen the way you want it to.
You're exhausted. So like sometimes I take a day or two off of workouts and then it's hard to get back in the swing. So maybe we can bring an expert on that could tell us the optimal way to get back in the swing of things. So stay tuned for that episode to come, Squatties, and thank you so much for tuning in to Just the Tip.
Make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and follow us on all the socials at Travel Squad Podcast.
And have fun traveling this weekend. Bye,
Squatties.
Bye.